Hello everyone, JG here, and welcome to the 20th episode of the Blizzard Audiobook series. If you'd like to follow along, there's a link to Blizzard in the description. All that being said, let's get started. Act 19, The Corrupted World, Lost Souls. Karol woke up to a slap on his back with a heavy oar. He was lying on the empty seats of the boat, and he saw the vulture staring at him intensely. "Get out, filth," Faro yelled. "Don't you know I have more souls to carry?" Karol sat up with a jolt and hopped out of the boat onto the wooden dock. He was at a shore very similar to the first, only that the direction was reversed and the trees here had leaves of red, orange, and yellow, many of which had fallen on the ground. Karol tried to use his black ice powers again, but they were still inactive. Karol saw the Kitsune waiting for him, so he ran over to join her. In front of them was another forest with a narrow red dirt path leading into its depths. All of the 97 lost souls who had boarded the boat with Karol and Kitsuneko had already left on this path. At the edge of the dock with the boat nearby, Faro the vulture was conversing with 3 spirits. These spirits were made of black and purple smoke in the shape of a person. The only part of their faces that were visible were their eyes, glowing dark purple. "Who are they?" Karol thought. "They look kind of like—" Then one of the spirits looked at Karol, and the stare reached the deepest abyss of his soul. Karol then remembered where he got that accursed black ice from. "Then I felt lifted into the air, like I was being pulled by an invisible rope. Then I saw the creature. He was raising both his arms up high in the air, and a black energy was being shot out of it. I felt like it was being drained of all my energy, not like I was getting anything. But I loved that feeling." Karol shook himself from that memory and gasped. The Kitsune noticed. "They," she said, "are purple shades. They are souls who either departed from life or were banished here. They worship the dragon in life, so they are his slaves now in their death." "Yeah," Karol said, still shaken. "Sorry, they just look really familiar." Kitsuneko, reading his mind, said, "Where else could those savage powers be from, Karol? You are no better than them, using that black ice." Karol, not wanting to hear it, said, "Let's just get a move on." The Kitsune then set off for the path, and Karol followed in his footsteps. This path was even more narrow than the first, and Karol struggled to walk it. The leaves and the trees covered the ground, and the air seemed somehow to be suffocating him. He just wanted to get out of there. He was unsure about how to feel about losing his black ice. He knew it was wrong, but it felt so good. After about an hour of traversing this path around more trees, leaves, rocks, and ruins, they arrived at a tall, faintly glowing, dark purple wall. It stretched far above them and was many different shades of purple, and stretched endlessly to the left and to the right, so far that Karol could not see the end of it. The path in front of them led to a gate, and at the gate they saw 2 purple shades, with many in the wall, watching Karol and Kitsuneko. "Those shades serve to guard the entrance of the 4th layer," the Kitsune said. "We must go confront them." Kitsuneko and Karol, who was extremely nervous, approached the gates. All the shades stared at them. One of the shades who was standing in front of the gates recognized Karol with his terrible eyes. He motioned to his fellow shades on top of the wall, and they all leapt off. Their bodies appeared to be made of air, for they all floated down, moving as they pleased, surrounding Karol and the Kitsune as they landed. Karol was terrified. He remembered what Kitsuneko said about the black ice and who gave it to him. This was all because of those accursed powers. Would he lose them? But on the other hand, Kitsuneko still contained her inner tranquility. Then the shade who signaled to the other shade spoke to Karol. "What are you doing here, O chosen one? Has our gift suited you well?" He laughed. Another one spoke. "Yes, you'll soon be joining our ranks. Then you guys know us even better than you already do." "Be quiet," Karol said. "I don't know any of you." "Really?" another side said. "Your actions speak quite differently. If you didn't know us, you wouldn't be here." "Perhaps," said the other shade who was guarding the gate, "he needs a chance to get to know us a bit better. Warm him up a bit to what we're going to do him when he's in our ranks. Further down, no?" Karol attempted to make black ice to fight the shades. It was no use. "That's an excellent idea. He's powerless here after all," a 5th shade said. Then he shot black smoke directly at Karol's head. It hit him, and the effect of the blast made him feel like he was suffocating for a few seconds. He had never felt more powerless. The second he gained his breath back, another shade formed a fist with his smoky hands, and it materialized into a glowing purple substance that appeared to be the same material as the wall. Then he slammed Karol with it, paining him greatly and suffocating him for 5 seconds. All of the shades started performing similar attacks to these, and Karol was losing 5 seconds of breath with every hit. He was going to pass from suffocation until he saw Kitsuneko, standing there peacefully, not lifting a finger. All of the shades knew who she was, were scared of her, and likewise avoided her. Karol, with a look of desperation and distress, called out to this majestic being with the words, "Help! Can't you do something?" Kitsuneko, seeing Karol in terror and in need of help, nodded to him, and her eyes grew brighter red. Suddenly, his hands started glowing and trembling with the Kitsune's neon red color. His hands started shaking even more, and Karol suddenly shot his regular eyes at one of the shades, and he evaporated into dust. Karol smiled to have his powers once again. Karol, restraining himself from using the black ice with all his might, he knew the Kitsune had a strange control over his powers in this world, so he didn't want to lose them. Easily lap out all of the purple sage who were present by creating a ball of mist and casting it on the ground, spreading his ice particles everywhere and evaporating the shades. Karol sighed with relief and looked at Kitsuneko. She smiled at him. How did you activate my powers? Karol asked curiously. Are you surprised? The Kitsune asked. Karol nodded. You shouldn't be, for I am the one who granted you those powers. Before you were born, I chose you at the will of the light for your mission. Karol was shocked. Why didn't you give them back to me earlier? Karol asked. If I did, would you have followed me? She asked. Karol looked down in shame. Kitsuneko walked over to him and placed her hand on his shoulder. Trust me, she said. I know what I'm doing on this journey. All my actions are for your own good. All I need from you is your trust and obedience. Can you do that for me? The black ice wall around Karol's heart began to melt. Kitsuneko took her hand off his shoulder, and the two entered into the gates, which led to the fourth layer. Once they were inside, the terrain changed drastically. No longer inside a dark forest, but now in a cold, depressing, gray city. No light was being emitted from any buildings. The streets and roads were all dark, trash was everywhere, the streetlights glowed a strange gray color, all the windows were missing their glass, and purple shades roamed freely across the city. Otherwise, it was void of any other signs of life. Where are we? Karol asked. We are now in the fourth layer, the Grey City, the Kitsune replied. We will be traversing inside these walls for the remainder of our journey. Karol felt a very odd presence from the city. It felt like he had been there before, like an old home from his childhood, but Karol knew that he'd never been anywhere like that hideous place. But there was just some eerie feeling Karol got as he stared at all the dark, lifeless windows of the buildings that reached up to the cloudy sky, which now almost appeared pitch black. As Karol stared at the sky looking at the gray buildings, he caught sight of a strange creature floating across the sky next to the buildings. It was not a shade, for it was a transparent gray, not of a smoky substance. As Karol got a closer look, he recognized some features of it that were quite similar to his own. Pointy ears, a long tail, and a slightly pointed snout. Then Karol realized something. That's an Arctic fox! He shouted, pointing as it flew behind a building. Yes, Kitsuneko said, stopping in her tracks and turning to Karol. Layer 4 is reserved for the souls who died as a result of the dragon personally, or as a result of those trying to bring about the dragon's freedom. Here they lie until the dragon finally falls. When that happens, the souls will go to their proper place in the afterlife. Why is that fox here? Karol asked. Because of Magnopus' slaughter, thousands of foxes were banished here, hoping for their chosen one to set them free. The Kitsune said sadly. I've always loved Arctic foxes. Karol remembered the brutal videos he saw in Magnopus' lair, and the rage grew in him once again. He knew he should keep it in check, but his desire for the black ice was still there. He knew Kitsuneko had control over his powers, but he was hoping for some excuse, some way to escape with him alive and uncorrupted, and still containing the black ice with him. Then he thought of a question to ask. A question which Karol thought would outsmart the Kitsune, reveal this world and herself as a dream or a trick of the dragon, and he would wake up with his wicked powers again. Karol knew that was not the truth, but he still wanted to try. If you always loved Arctic foxes, then why did you choose me as the one who would have the powers that could stop the dragon, if you knew all these foxes would be slaughtered? Karol asked. The slaughter of a race of people was inevitable due to the greed of the hearts of men, the Kitsune said. No matter what race was chosen, all the people who belonged to it would perish. You were chosen because of all peoples of all times, you were the only one who would use my powers correctly. But, Karol said, not understanding, if you're all powerful, why didn't you change reality and make it so a slaughter never happened? I am not all-powerful, Kitsuneko replied sharply. Never say such a thing. There is one who is above me, and all my power comes from him. I cannot change the hearts of men without consent of their wills. I was not given the authority to do such a thing. So if people reject the truth and do what is wrong, I cannot stop them. Thus I cannot stop the slaughter of the Arctic foxes. Magnopus and his crew would have slaughtered any race that was chosen, and the Arctic foxes contained the one person who would defeat the dragon. You. Karol sat down on a nearby bench. But that doesn't seem fair. Remember what I told you about all my actions being for your good? The Kitsune asked. Karol nodded. Well, my actions are also for the good of those who line their wills for good. If these foxes are freed, they will receive the reward for their sacrifice. But that all depends on you. Will you finally give up that hideous power for them? Karol stayed silent. He was not ready to renounce that power. Kitsuneko knew this, so she told Karol to stand up. He did so, and they went on their way, traversing through the city sidewalks. The two of them walked through the city, occasionally making turns to the left or to the right, only to arrive at more buildings just the same as before. Karol had lost all sense of direction, but the Kitsune knew where she was going. She walked without hesitation in full confidence of her direction. The same blind buildings and trash went on for miles, and occasionally Karol would spot a purple shade walking about or a lost soul floating in the air, usually being an Arctic fox. Karol even recognized the poet of the Arctic Underscore Fox Files. Now he knew that if he renounced his black ice, he could help those foxes bring real, non-avenging justice. but something was still attaching him to that feeling, like a leech on the skin that just wouldn't let go, the addictive feeling of power. Karol still wasn't ready to let go of those sick, hideous, forbidden pleasure. After walking for an hour in silence, Karol and Kitsuneko arrived at another great wall, with the same height and width as the first, except this one was gray, made of concrete. At the foot of the wall, in front of them, there was a doorway that was completely pitch black. Kitsuneko stopped in front of it. "Why have we stopped?" Karol asked. "We are about to enter Layer 5, Kitsuneko explained. "This layer is reserved for those whose physical bodies are now slaves of the dragon. Their souls now lie in unending torment until they are freed. What you see there will be painful, and most of it is your own fault, for you are the one who inevitably freed the dragon. If you enter into that layer, you will not come out the same person. Do you wish to continue?" Karol thought it over for a moment. Then he said, "I have no other choice." So Karol and the Kitsune entered through the door of unending torment. When Karol entered the door, he felt a great cold unlike any he had ever felt before. It was so dead, empty, and freezing, Karol had to shut his eyes as they entered the lair. Karol opened his eyes, and what he saw was strange. He was standing on a ground? The whole room was pitch black and never ending, if he was in a room at all. He appears to be walking on blackness, making no sound when he walked. The walls, if there was any, were black, and the roof was pitch black as well. He could, however, see clearly all around him, thanks to the Kitsune standing in front of him, light emitting from every part of her body but her hands. Karol could also see many purple shades throughout this lair, there because they had a task to do. In front of Karol and the Kitsune, Karol saw a faint light glow. Kitsuneko brought Karol over to it, and it turned out to be a lost soul in a purple shade. The soul was a two-tailed fox, and he was working on an invention in a strange trance, with a box of tools behind him. But no matter what he did, the invention never seemed to work. It didn't matter what stunt of genius he pulled, it always failed. Whenever he thought he found a way to fix the machine, he got very excited, but whenever he failed, which he always did, he felt the great pain of failure all over again. The purple shade just stood near him, guarding. "It's impossible!" the fox shouted as he cried on the machine. "I can't fix it! I'm just not smart enough! Sonic will fail his mission, and it's all my fault!" "Hey!" Karol shouted out of compassion for the fox. "The exit's over that way! Go! Be free!" But the fox just continued his never-ending experiment while Karol never spoke to him. "What's wrong with him?" Karol asked Kitsuneko. "All the souls here are in a strange trance. They do not know they can leave their punishment. Even if they did, it would not enter their will," the Kitsune replied. "All the souls?" Karol asked. "But I only see him." Kitsuneko then pointed to Karol's right, and he saw an endless corridor of souls being inflicted by various torments and punishments by purple shades reaching through the black room in two parallel lines with a big space in the middle. The wailings and groans of pain there struck Karol to his very core. He knew whose fault this was. "There," said the Kitsune, pointing to the space in between the lines of souls, "is our road." She then took off, and Karol followed where she led. As Karol walked around this tragic road, he caught sight of the pains of many souls who were caught in the dragon's grasp. He saw a female bat, surrounded by beautiful gems, but every time she tried to grab one, a purple shade pulled it away. "This really just ain't my day." And she tried to reach for another, and it disappeared from her grasp. Then, Karol saw an armadillo and a flying squirrel, begging on doors in a hallway to be let in, but never being let in. Then he saw a big cat endlessly searching for someone, shouting the name of a frog. A bunch of animals were trapped in a cage waiting for a savior, but one never came. A hedgehog Karol had never seen before was being stabbed by shades, their hands formed like knives. A female hedgehog had flaming arrows shot at her. A crocodile, a chameleon, and a bee were all chained to the ground. None of the souls here seemed to be aware of any other's presence, except on rare occasions where they could see the purple shades, as was the case of the hedgehog Karol had never seen before. As Karol walked through this black corridor of pain, the black ice walls covering his heart melted away to almost nothing. He now saw clearly all the pain his evil caused others. All the souls Karol corrupted at Magnopus's list were there too, being punished accordingly. It turns out that some of the ones who Karol corrupted were Magnopus's unwilling slaves who attacked them, adding more blame to Karol who corrupted them. One soul, however, was resisting his punishment. A snow leopard was standing in front of a rectangle-shaped hole in the ground, glowing white. Somehow, Magnopus's iron will broke free from even the trance of the corrupted world. He appeared terrified of what was in that hole, so he was doing whatever he could to escape it, even fighting the invincible purple shades. "There is no way in hell I will take your unjust punishment!" he shouted as he swung his brutal fist at the shades, not affecting them at all, but just phasing through them. The shades just laughed at him. "Unjust?" they jeered in their hazy voices. "Ha! Maybe for some of these souls, but you? Fool! Have you had no idea of your own wickedness?" The Kitsune led Karol on as Magnopus continued his hopeless battle. Karol saw many more punishments on many more souls during his great journey, far too many for any writer to document without losing track of his work. But during the hours he traversed that accursed room, his guilt grew and the black ice was nearly removed from his heart. He was almost ready to reject it fully and begin his life anew. Finally, Karol and the Kitsune arrived at the end of that hellhole. At the end, there was a wooden purple door covered in silver, as one would see on the homes of kings. That leads to Layer 6, the dragon's throne room. He's not there anymore now, but he left a shade that is a copy of himself in all things but sight. Kitsuneko turned to Karol. He is who you will have to fight. As Karol stared at the dragon markings on the door, behold, the last soul in that hideous line called out to him. You! He yelled. Karol turned to look at him. He was a hedgehog with bright green eyes, changed down to a post, so tightly that he was unable to move at all. He seemed to be in the most mental anguish of all the souls. Yeah, you! He said in a quick, speedy voice. I've heard of you. The chosen one, right? Is there any way you can get us all out of this mess? Kitsuneko stared at Karol. Is there? She asked. Karol thought for a while. He knew he had to give up the black ice, but it just felt so... Karol's thoughts were suddenly interrupted by him seeing the palms of Kitsuneko's hands at her side. He saw in her palms 2 deep shards of black ice, piercing deep into her hands, causing her great pain. The reason why was clear. She gave Karol the powers, so she had to suffer when Karol abused them. There she was, in great agony for Karol's sake, hiding it until now. Karol knelt down on his left knee in front of the Kitsune, grabbed her left hand, and kissed it. Then the Kitsune raised him up, and Karol said from the bottom of his heart, Thank you. I will renounce the black ice. Forever this time. Awesome! The hedgehog shouted, managing to crack a smile despite all his pain. Now go kick that dragon's ass! Fast! Kitsuneko led Karol to the purple door, and light was emitted from her hand as she reached out. Gradually, the door opened to a great throne room. The Kitsune entered the room, and the fox followed where she led.